Commander Alan Hayes stood at the window of Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and red. The year was 2157, and humanity had managed to establish small colonies on Mars and Europa. It wasn't much compared to what science fiction had promised centuries ago, but it was something. Progress had been slow but steady since the climate wars of the 2080s. "Commander, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Diane Miller, interrupting his moment of peace. Hayes turned, noting the urgency in her voice. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "We're picking up strange transmissions from beyond Neptune's orbit." "Nothing. Like we've seen before." Hayes followed her to the command center where technicians worked frantically at their stations. The main screen displayed a waveform pattern unlike anything in their databases. "How long has this been coming in?" Hayes asked. "About 3 hours, sir. It repeats every 17 minutes exactly." Hayes studied the pattern. After 20 years in space defense, he'd seen all kinds of anomalies and natural phenomena. This wasn't one of them. "Get Dr. Grant up here. Now." Dr. Olivia Grant arrived 30 minutes later, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, eyes bright with curiosity despite being woken in the middle of the night. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, she had spent her career preparing for a moment many thought would never come. "Is it real?" she asked without preamble, moving straight to the main console. Hayes nodded. "We've ruled out equipment malfunction and natural causes." Grant's fingers flew across the interface as she analyzed the transmission. "It's structured. Definitely not random. There are patterns within patterns." Her voice remained calm, but Hayes could see the excitement in her eyes. "Give me a few hours." Those few hours turned into 2 days. Hayes barely left the command center, catching sleep in short bursts on the office couch. When Grant finally emerged from her makeshift workstation, her face told him everything before she spoke. "It's a message," she said, "and I know what it says." The room fell silent. "We come in peace," Grant said, followed by mathematical sequences that seemed to be coordinates and timing information. Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. "You're certain?" "As certain as I can be. The message is designed to be decipherable using universal mathematical principles. Whoever sent this wanted to make sure we understood." Within hours, the highest levels of Earth government were informed. Within days, a response was crafted and transmitted toward the coordinates provided in the message. 3 weeks later, sensors detected an object decelerating as it entered the solar system. It moved unlike any known spacecraft, seeming to fold space around itself. The object took up position in orbit around Jupiter, waiting. "They're inviting us to meet them," Grant explained, reviewing the newest transmission. "They're staying distant to avoid causing panic." The Earth Defense Council debated for days before making their decision. Finally, Hayes received his orders directly from the Secretary General. "We're sending a ship," Hayes told his senior staff, "and I'll be on it, along with Dr. Grant and a small security team led by Captain Sam Carter." Captain Carter was a compact, serious man with a reputation for level-headedness under pressure. "We're really doing this?" he asked during their first briefing. "Meeting aliens? They call themselves the Vexari," Grant explained. "At least that's my best translation. They claim to represent something called the Galactic Council. The EDF's fastest ship, the Artemis, was prepared for the journey to Jupiter. As launch approached, Hayes received a troubling report from the Oceanic Monitoring Station in the Pacific. "Strange energy readings from the Mariana Trench, sir," Lieutenant Gary Peterson explained, showing Hayes the data. "They started about the same time as the first transmission." "Natural phenomenon?" Hayes asked. "Doesn't match any known patterns, and it's growing stronger." Hayes frowned. "Keep monitoring it. Send daily reports directly to me." "Yes, sir." "Do you think it's connected to our visitors?" "I don't know," Hayes admitted, "but I don't believe in coincidences." The day of launch arrived with clear skies. Hayes stood on the bridge of the Artemis, watching Earth shrink behind them. Dr. Grant worked constantly, refining her translation. Algorithms. Captain Carter kept his security team ready but unobtrusive. 6 days later, they approached the Jovian orbit where the Vexari ship waited. The alien vessel was beautiful, a spiraling structure that seemed to shimmer between states of matter. "They're hailing us," the communications officer announced. Grant moved to the console. "I'm ready." The screen activated, and for the first time, humanity saw what waited for them among the stars. The alien had a vaguely humanoid shape, but with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Its eyes, 4 of them, blinked independently around a central mouth structure. "Greetings, humans of Earth," it spoke, the words translated through Grant's program. "I am Ambassador Zexel of the Vexari Diplomatic Corps. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to the greater community of spacefaring civilizations." Hayes stepped forward. "I am Commander Alan Hayes of Earth. We are honored by your greeting and eager to learn more about this Galactic Council." The alien's skin rippled in what Grant would later identify as pleasure. "The Council awaits your delegation. Your species has been observed for some time, as is standard protocol. You have reached the technological threshold that warrants formal introduction." As the diplomatic exchange continued, Hayes received a private message from Earth. Lieutenant Peterson's report showed the energy readings in the Mariana Trench had doubled in intensity overnight. "Commander," Captain Carter whispered, "do we tell them about the anomaly?" Hayes considered this carefully. "Not yet. Not until we know more." The meeting concluded with an invitation. Ambassador Zexel requested that Hayes, Grant, and a small team accompany him back to the Council station to formally present Earth's case for recognition. "This is everything we've worked for," Grant said privately to Hayes after the transmission ended. "First contact, peaceful exchange." "Then why does it feel like we're missing something?" Hayes replied, looking at the report from Earth again. "Peterson will continue investigating the trench anomaly while we're gone. Something's happening down there, and the timing is too perfect to be chance." As they prepared to board the Vexari vessel the next day, Hayes pulled Lieutenant Peterson up on a secure channel. "I need you to head the investigation personally," he told him. "Whatever is happening in that trench, find out. And Gary, be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with yet." "Understood, sir," Peterson replied. "Good luck out there among the stars." Hayes looked at the alien ship that would carry them to the heart of galactic civilization. "I think we might need it." The journey to the Galactic Council station took 3 weeks. Commander Hayes, Dr. Grant, and Captain Carter watched in amazement as the Vexari ship moved through space in ways that defied Earth physics. Ambassador Zexil explained they were using something called fold space technology, which allowed them to shorten the distance between 2 points. "Your species will develop similar technology in time," the ambassador said. His color-shifting skin rippled in what they had learned was a gesture of reassurance. Dr. Grant spent most of her time with the ship's translation systems, improving their communication. Captain Carter quietly assessed the Vexari crew and their capabilities. Meanwhile, Commander Hayes read the daily reports from Lieutenant Peterson about the strange energy readings in the Mariana Trench. "The pattern is changing," Peterson wrote, in his latest update. "The energy pulses seem to be responding to certain sound frequencies we're testing. And sir, we've detected similar readings beginning on Mars and Europa near our colonies." Hayes frowned at this news but decided to keep it to himself for now. He needed more information before sharing these developments with their hosts. On the 22nd day of their journey, the ship slowed. "We approached the Council station," Ambassador Zexil announced. "Please join me on the observation deck." The 3 humans followed the alien to a large room with transparent walls. As they watched, space seemed to part like a curtain, revealing a structure so vast that Hayes couldn't comprehend its full size at first. "That can't be real," Captain Carter whispered. The Council station looked like a giant metal flower with dozens of massive petals extending from a central hub. Each petal was the size of Earth's moon. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like bees around a hive. The station houses representatives from 173 spacefaring civilizations, Zexil explained with pride. "Some have been members for thousands of your years. You are the first new species to be considered for membership in nearly a century." Dr. Grant could barely contain her excitement. "How many of these species are humanoid like us?" About 30% share your basic body structure, Zexel answered. Evolution often finds similar solutions to similar problems across the galaxy. Their ship docked at one of the smaller petals. Zexel led them through gleaming corridors where aliens of various shapes and sizes moved about their business. Some looked almost human, while others were completely foreign. Floating gas clouds contained in mechanical shells, insect-like, beings with multiple limbs and creatures that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. The council meets in 3 of your days, Zexel informed them. Until then, you will rest in prepared quarters and meet with various representatives who wish to welcome you. Their rooms were comfortable and adapted for human needs. After settling in, they attended a formal reception where they were introduced to key council members. The Eldurians were tall, willowy beings with pale blue skin, who moved with grace and spoke with careful precision. Their representative elder, Vorn, seemed genuinely pleased to meet the humans. Your species has great potential, the elder told Hayes. We have observed your resilience through your climate crisis and internal conflicts. You emerge stronger each time. Next came the Cracks, a reptilian species with heavy armor-like scales and eyes that reminded Hayes of Earth's predatory birds. Their representative, General Dravik, studied the humans with open suspicion. The sleeping threat, he muttered in his guttural language before the translation could catch up. When it did, he switched to a more diplomatic tone. We welcome all peaceful species to the council. Hayes noted the slip with concern. What did the Cracks mean by sleeping threat? Later that evening, Dr. Grant was approached by a young diplomat. From the Laraxian species. They appeared almost human except for their silver eyes and the faint pattern of scales along their temples. I am Nix, the diplomat said quietly. We should speak privately. In a secluded corner of the reception hall, Nix explained, not everyone welcomes Earth's arrival. The Cracks especially have been arguing against your inclusion for centuries. Centuries? Grant asked, surprised. How long has Earth been known to the Council? Your planet has been monitored for thousands of years, Nix admitted. Standard protocol for emerging species includes observation from early development. There's more, isn't there? Grant pressed, sensing the Laraxians' unease. Nix looked around nervously. There are ancient records that reference your solar system. They speak of the Guardian, a dormant power supposedly connected to humans. Many species fear it, though no one seems to know exactly what it is. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Peterson stood on the deck of a research vessel floating above the Mariana Trench. The energy readings had grown so strong that standard equipment could no longer measure them accurately. Look at this pattern, Dr. Kevin Wells, the chief oceanographer, said as he showed Peterson the latest data. It's pulsing in response to those frequency tests we ran. Peterson studied the readout. It almost looks like a heartbeat, Wells finished, getting stronger and faster. Peterson immediately sent an encrypted message to Commander Hayes, unaware that communications were now being monitored. On the council station, Hayes received the message during a tour of the agricultural section. He excused himself and read it privately, growing more concerned with each word. The energy patterns were now forming shapes that matched ancient human symbols found in civilizations across Earth, symbols that had no known connection to each other. When Hayes returned to their quarters, he found Captain Carter waiting with troubling news. I caught a maintenance drone scanning our rooms, Carter reported. They're watching us more closely than the other delegates. And limiting our communications, Hayes added. Peterson's latest message was delayed by 6 hours and shows signs of being accessed. Dr. Grant joined them, bringing Nix along. The young Laraxian looked frightened. I accessed restricted archives, Nix said. There was a war, about 50,000 years ago. The records are mostly destroyed, but they reference the Guardians of Sol defeating a terrible enemy. After the war, the Guardians disappeared. Sol is our sun, Grant explained to Hayes and Carter. These Guardians must have had some connection to our solar system. Hayes shared Peterson's findings about the energy patterns matching ancient human symbols. Tomorrow the Council votes on Earth's status, Nix warned. General Dravik has been gathering support to either quarantine your planet or... The Laraxian couldn't finish the sentence. Or destroy it, Carter said flatly. Because they're afraid of this guardian, whatever it is. Hayes clenched his jaw, thinking of Earth, unaware of the danger it faced billions of miles away. We need to warn them. The cracks are monitoring all outgoing communications, Nick said. But I might be able to help. My people have ways of sending messages that others cannot detect. As they formulated a plan, the energy in Earth's oceans continued to grow. Similar readings now appeared on Mars and Europa, forming a triangle pattern when mapped in space. Lieutenant Peterson, sensing the urgency, prepared to send one final message, unaware that a Crack's battle fleet had already departed for the Sol system with deadly purpose. The council chamber was enormous, with tiered seating arranged in a perfect circle. Representatives from 173 species filled the seats, their varied forms creating a living mosaic of galactic diversity. Commander Hayes, Dr. Grant, and Captain Carter stood on a small platform in the center, feeling the weight of countless alien eyes upon them. High Elder Vorn of the Eldurians spoke first, his melodic voice carrying throughout the chamber without, seeming to raise it. We gather to vote on Earth's status within the galactic community, he announced. Ambassador Zexel of the Vexari has sponsored their petition for provisional membership. Zexel stepped forward, his skin shifting to a formal blue pattern. The humans have reached the technological threshold. They have established colonies beyond their homeworld and show great promise. I propose we grant them provisional status while they continue to develop. General Dravix of the Cracks immediately rose from his seat, his scaled armor clicking as he moved. The humans are a threat, he growled. Our oldest records warn us about their system. I propose quarantine until we can fully assess the danger. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Hayes noticed many species seemed undecided, looking between the Eldurian and Cracks representatives with uncertainty. Dr. Grant whispered to Hayes, "Many are afraid to vote against the Cracks. They're one of the most powerful military forces in the Council." Hayes nodded slightly. He had suspected as much from watching the interactions between species. The Cracks clearly used intimidation as a political tool. Elder Vorn raised his long-fingered hand for silence. "We will hear from the humans before voting." Hayes stepped forward, grateful for the translation technology that would carry his words to every being present. "People of the Galactic Council, we come in peace. Earth has no knowledge of any guardian or ancient power. We seek only friendship and the exchange of knowledge." His words seemed to sway some representatives, but Dravix cut in harshly. "They know nothing because the threat sleeps. Our archives clearly state that when awakened, the Guardian will upset the balance of power throughout the galaxy." "What evidence do you have of this threat?" Captain Carter asked directly. Dravix's predatory eyes narrowed. "The evidence is classified, for security reasons." The vote proceeded with tension filling the chamber. Many species abstained, unwilling to take sides. In the end, Earth received provisional membership by a narrow margin. Dravix stormed from the chamber, followed by representatives from a dozen allied species. Hayes watched them go, feeling no relief from their victory. "This isn't over," he said quietly to Grant and Carter. That night, Ambassador Zexil visited their quarters with troubling news. "General Dravix is gathering support from military-focused species. He claims the vote was manipulated. I fear he may take action outside Council authority." "What kind of action?" Hayes asked, though he suspected the answer. Zexil's skin darkened with concern. "There are rumors of fleet movements. I cannot confirm, but..." An alert from Hayes's communication device interrupted them. It was a message from Lieutenant Peterson, heavily encrypted and sent through the channel Nix had provided. "The energy patterns are now visible to the naked eye," Peterson reported. "The ocean above the Mariana Trench glows blue at night. Similar phenomena on Mars and Europa. Dr. Wells believes the three sites are communicating with each other. Military vessels from unknown origin detected at the edge of our system. Cannot establish communication. Earth Defense Force on high alert." Hayes showed the message to the others. "We need to get back to Earth immediately. The journey takes weeks," Carter pointed out. "Not necessarily," Zexil said, his color pattern shifting to determination. "There are faster ships. I may be able to arrange passage, though it would violate certain protocols. Before they could make plans, the station's alarms blared. Nix burst into their quarters, breathing hard from running. "It's a coup," the young Lyraxian gasped. Dravix and his allies have taken control of the central hub. They're claiming emergency powers due to the human threat. Council security forces are already fighting crack soldiers. Carter moved instantly to the door, checking the corridor. "We need to get out of here now." "The docking bay," Zexel suggested. "I have access to a diplomatic vessel." As they rushed through the corridors, they saw signs of struggle. Council security officers exchanged fire with crack soldiers. Other species were fleeing toward their own ships. This was planned, Hayes realized. Dravix expected to lose the vote. He's using it as an excuse. "The cracks have wanted control of the council for centuries," Zexel confirmed as they ran. "This is just their latest attempt, using fear of the Guardian as justification." They reached the docking bay, finding it in chaos as various species tried to evacuate. Zexel led them to a sleek vessel smaller than the one that had brought them. "To the station. This is a courier ship," the ambassador explained. "Faster than standard vessels. It can reach your system in days rather than weeks." As they prepared to board, General Dravix's voice echoed through the station's communication system. "Attention all council members. A state of emergency has been declared. The human delegates are to be detained as potential security threats. The planet Earth is hereby quarantined. Any vessels approaching the Sol system will be considered hostile and destroyed." "He's going after Earth," Hayes said grimly, "and we're days behind even with the faster ship." On Earth, Lieutenant Peterson stood on the deck of the research vessel, staring at the glowing blue water of the Mariana Trench. The glow had expanded, now covering several square miles of ocean. Military ships formed a perimeter around the area, their weapons ready but useless against something they couldn't understand. Dr. Wells approached, his face pale in the eerie blue light. "The energy readings just spiked again. And look at this." He handed Peterson a tablet showing a satellite image. "The same pattern is happening on Mars and Europa." The image showed 3 glowing points forming a perfect triangle across the solar system. As Peterson watched, a new alert appeared on his screen. Unidentified vessels entering the outer system, moving fast toward Earth. "Battle stations," Peterson ordered, "and get me a secure line to Dr. Linda West at the Ancient Languages Division." Back on the council station, Hayes, Grant, Carter, Zexel, and Nix fought their way through the docking bay. Crack soldiers had arrived and were blocking access to the ships. "This way," Nix called, leading them through a maintenance corridor. "There's another bay for emergency vessels." As they ran, Grant asked the question that had been troubling her. Why would the cracks fear this Guardian so much? What could it possibly be? Nix glanced back, silver eyes reflecting the emergency lights. The ancient records say the Guardians defeated an empire that had conquered half the galaxy. An empire that the cracks believe was their ancestral right. "They're afraid of losing power," Carter said, understanding dawning. "They're afraid of humanity claiming its forgotten legacy," Nix corrected. "Whatever that might be." The small group reached the emergency bay and boarded a courier ship. As Zexil prepared for launch, Hayes received one final message from Peterson. "Soundier. Fleet approaching Earth. Energy phenomenon growing. Strange symbols appearing on surface of the water. Dr. West says they match pre-Sumerian, ancient Egyptian, and early Chinese writing that shouldn't be connected. They translate roughly to, 'I wake when my children are in danger.'" The courier ship launched, streaking away from the council station toward Earth. Behind them, the political structure that had maintained peace among the stars for thousands of years began to fracture as species chose sides in what would become a galactic conflict. And in the depths of Earth's oceans, something ancient stirred, responding to a threat it had been created to counter long before recorded human history began. The Cracks battle fleet arrived in Earth's solar system with overwhelming force. 50 warships, each the size of a small city, moved past Neptune and Uranus with cold purpose. Their commander, Admiral Vrex, stood on the bridge of the flagship, studying the holographic display of the small blue planet. "Primitive defenses," he noted to his officers. Their weapons cannot harm our vessels. We will demand surrender before beginning the containment protocol. On Earth, panic spread as the alien ships appeared on radar. The Earth Defense Force mobilized every available ship and weapon, but Lieutenant Peterson knew they stood no chance against such advanced technology. We need to evacuate the area around the Mariana Trench, he told the gathered military leaders. Whatever is happening there is accelerating. The ocean above the trench now glowed bright blue for miles, visible from space. Strange symbols continued to appear on the water surface, changing and shifting like a living language. Dr. West believes the symbols are some form of ancient communication, Peterson explained. They match patterns from Earth's earliest civilizations, but also contain elements no human has ever recorded. Admiral Kate Russell of the EDF frowned. Communicate with what? Or whom? We don't know, Peterson admitted. But the energy readings from Mars and Europa are responding. They're talking to each other. The communication officer interrupted with alarm. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. Admiral Vrex's reptilian face appeared on the main screen, scales gleaming under the lights of his ship's bridge. People of Earth, he began, his words translated by a mechanical system. I am Admiral Vrex of the Krax Dominion. Your planet harbors a threat to galactic peace. Surrender now and prepare for containment procedures. Resistance will result in your destruction. Admiral Russell stepped forward. This is Admiral Russell of the Earth Defense Force. We know of no threat on our planet. What is the nature of this alleged danger? That is classified information, Vrex replied coldly. You have 1 hour to surrender. As Earth's leaders debated their response, the courier ship carrying Hayes, Grant, Carter, Zexel, and Nix pushed its engines beyond safe limits. The small vessel streaked through fold space, covering distance at rates that violated several laws of physics. We're still 3 days from Earth at maximum speed, Zexel reported grimly. The Krax fleet is already there. Hayes pounded his fist against the wall in frustration. Is there any way to send a message? Warn them. Not through fold space, the ambassador answered. Communication is impossible at these speeds. Dr. Grant had been studying the ancient records Nix had managed to download before their escape. According to these fragments, the Guardian was created by an advanced human civilization that existed before recorded history. That's impossible, Carter said. We would have found evidence. Not if they were destroyed completely, Grant argued. These records suggest a catastrophic war, nearly wiped them out. The survivors created the Guardian as a last defense, then engineered their descendants, modern humans, to rebuild slowly. So the Guardian has been dormant for 50,000 years? Hayes asked. Why wake up now? Nix looked up from another section of the records. It says here, the Guardian sleeps until the children face extinction. It wakes only in their darkest hour. On Earth, the ultimatum's deadline approached. Earth's combined military forces positioned themselves between the alien fleet and the planet. A brave but futile gesture. Lieutenant Peterson and Dr. West worked frantically to understand the growing phenomenon in the Mariana Trench. The blue glow had intensified, now shooting beams of light into the sky that were visible across half the planet. The pattern changed again, Dr. West said suddenly, studying the symbols on her screen. Look at this sequence. Peterson stared at the shifting patterns. What does it mean? It's a countdown, West whispered. Whatever is down there, it's preparing to emerge. Admiral Russell received the information with grim determination. Then we hold off the aliens as long as possible. Give this thing time to wake up. You're betting Earth's survival on something we don't understand, Peterson pointed out. Do you have a better option, Lieutenant? Russell asked. Peterson had no answer. The hour expired. The Krax fleet moved forward, weapons powering up. Earth ships launched their first desperate attack, missiles and energy weapons flaring against the alien shields without effect. Begin the containment, Admiral Vrex ordered. Target their orbital defenses first. Krax energy weapons fired, destroying Earth space stations and satellites with surgical precision. Next came targeted strikes on military installations across the planet. Cities remained untouched, for now. As the attack began, a massive earthquake shook the Pacific Ocean. The research vessels near the Mariana Trench recorded the seafloor dropping away, as if something massive was rising from below. The blue glow intensified until it was painful to look at directly. Energy readings off the scale, one scientist reported, her voice shaking. Whatever it is, it's coming up. The ocean bulged upward, forming a dome miles wide. Water cascaded off as something enormous broke the surface, a massive structure, part mechanical, part biological, covered in glowing symbols. It rose higher and higher, revealing a form that vaguely resembled a human figure, but on a colossal scale. My God, Peterson breathed, watching from the research vessel's deck. It must be miles tall. The entity continued to rise until it stood with water streaming from its form. Its surface was metallic, yet seemed alive, pulsing with energy. Ancient symbols flowed across its skin like luminous blood through veins. Its face had no features except for eyes that glowed with the same blue light as the ocean. In space, the Krax fleet detected the massive energy surge. Admiral Vrex stared at the readings in horror, recognizing what they meant. "All ships, concentrate fire on the emergence point," he ordered, his voice rising with panic. "Destroy it before it fully awakens." The Krax vessels turned their weapons toward Earth, specifically targeting the Pacific Ocean where the giant figure stood. Energy beams powerful enough to crack a planet's crust lanced down. They never reached their target. The beams stopped midair, caught in an energy field that surrounded the colossal entity. It raised one massive arm and suddenly every Krax weapon system went offline. "Impossible," Vrex whispered, staring at the dead controls. On the research vessel, the communications system suddenly activated on every channel, in every language. The entity spoke, its voice resonating not through air but directly in the minds of every living being on Earth and in orbit. "I am the Guardian. I awaken only when my children are threatened. I have slept for 50,000 years, watching as you rebuilt what was lost." The voice paused as if searching for words that humans could understand. "Your ancestors created me from their own essence. I am their legacy to you. And now, I stand against those who would harm you, as I was designed to do." In Earth's orbit, Admiral Vrex watched in terror as the Guardian raised its other arm. A pulse of energy shot upward, surrounding the Krax fleet in a blue field that rendered their ships immobile. Back on the courier ship, Hayes, Grant, Carter, Zexel, and Nix watched their sensors go wild as they approached the Sol system. Something massive had appeared on Earth, emanating power unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. "The Guardian has awakened," Nix whispered with awe. The ancient records were true. 3 days after the Guardian's awakening, the courier ship carrying Hayes, Grant, Carter, Zexel, and Nix arrived in Earth's orbit. They found a changed solar system. The Krax fleet hung motionless in space, surrounded by shimmering blue energy fields. More surprising were the hundreds of other vessels that had arrived from across the galaxy. Council ships, independent traders, and curious observers, all drawn by news of the Guardian's return. "Look at them all," Grant whispered, gazing at the view screen. "The whole galaxy is watching." Their ship received clearance to land at the newly established Earth Defense Force Command Center near the Mariana Trench. As they descended through the atmosphere, they saw the Guardian standing in the Pacific Ocean. It remained motionless, its massive form visible from hundreds of miles away, blue energy flowing across its surface in complex patterns. When they landed, Lieutenant Peterson was waiting. The young officer looked exhausted but excited as he greeted his commander. "Sir, I'm glad you made it back," Peterson said, saluting Hayes. "A lot has happened." "I can see that," Hayes replied, staring at the distant figure of the Guardian. "Is it hostile?" "No, sir. It's been completely passive since neutralizing the Krax fleet. It only acted to defend Earth." They traveled to the main research facility where Dr. West was coordinating efforts to understand the Guardian. The building buzzed with activity as Scientists from every field worked alongside military personnel. Large screens displayed data streams, satellite images, and translations of the symbols that continued to flow across the Guardian's surface. "Commander, welcome back," Dr. West greeted them. The small, energetic woman barely looked up from her work. "You've arrived at a historic moment." "What exactly is it?" Hayes asked, nodding toward the screens showing the Guardian. The short answer? It's both a weapon and a protector created by an advanced human civilization that existed roughly 50,000 years ago, West explained. They called themselves the Solarians. They were far more advanced than we are now. "What happened to them?" Grant asked. "War. A terrible war with a species that sought to conquer the galaxy. The Solarians created the Guardian as a last resort when they were facing extinction. Then they engineered their descendants, us, to rebuild slowly, without the knowledge that might attract attention from their enemies." Peterson added, "The Guardian was programmed to sleep until humanity faced a threat it couldn't handle, alone. It responds to our collective fear and distress. That's why it woke up when the cracks arrived." "And the energy readings on Mars and Europa?" Carter asked. "There are 2 more Guardians," West said. "Smaller ones, still dormant. They form a defensive triangle around our solar system. If necessary, they can create a barrier that would make Sol completely impenetrable." Hayes stared at the screens, trying to process everything. "Has it communicated since the initial contact?" "Yes, though not with words. It seems to prefer communicating through images and emotions, directly into our minds. It's been sharing memories." "Memories of what?" "Of who we were," West said quietly. "Of the civilization we came from. Of the war that nearly destroyed us. It's like having a dream of someone else's life, but knowing it was once yours." Outside, a new ship was descending through the clouds, larger than the others, bearing the markings of the Galactic Council. Hayes and his team went to meet it, joining Admiral Russell on the landing pad. "The Council leadership escaped the coup," Hayes explained to the Admiral. "They're here to negotiate." The ship landed, and foreign of the Eldurians emerged, followed by representatives from a dozen major Council species. Notably absent were the cracks. "Commander Hayes," Elder Vorn greeted him formally. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our deepest apologies for the actions of the Cracks Dominion. They acted without authorization." "What happens to them now?" Hayes asked, looking up at the immobilized fleet. "That will depend on your Guardian," Vorn answered. "It has control of their ships and their fate." The diplomatic party traveled to the research center, where Elder Vorn studied the data with great interest. "The legends were true," he murmured. "The Solarians were real. They were considered the greatest peacekeepers the galaxy has ever known. When they disappeared after the war, many species mourned their loss." "Including the Eldurians?" Grant asked. "Especially us. We were allies." Vorn turned to Hayes. "Commander, the Council wishes to re-establish formal relations with humanity, the children of the Solarians. Not as a probationary member, but as a full and honored civilization." As they discussed the future, a message arrived from the Guardian. It wasn't in words, but in images and impressions that everyone present could feel. Dr. West translated, "It's releasing the Cracks fleet. It says vengeance is not its purpose. Protection is." They watched on the monitors as the blue energy fields surrounding the Cracks ships dissipated. Rather than resume their attack, the vessels immediately retreated, jumping to fold space and disappearing. "They will return to their territory in disgrace," Zexil explained. "Admiral Vrex will likely be executed for his failure." "The Guardian is communicating again," West announced. Everyone fell silent, feeling the powerful presence in their minds. "It's showing us a choice," West said slowly. "It can remain fully awake, making Earth instantly one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, or it can return to a partial sleep state, remaining vigilant but allowing us to develop at our own pace." Hayes looked at his companions, then at the Council representatives. "What would you advise, Elder Vorn?" The Eldurian considered carefully. "Power without wisdom is dangerous. Your species has great potential, but is still young. After much discussion, Hayes approached the shoreline nearest to the Guardian. Though it stood miles away, he knew it could hear him. "We choose the middle path," he said simply. "Remain awake enough to protect us and guide us, but let us grow at our own pace. We need to earn our place in the galaxy, not simply inherit it." The Guardian seemed to nod, its massive form shifting slightly. The blue glow dimmed but didn't disappear. It began to sink slowly back into the ocean, but not completely. Its upper body remained visible, a sentinel on Earth's horizon, while its lower half returned to the depths. In the following months, Earth became the center of galactic attention. The Galactic Council established a permanent embassy in what had once been the United Nations building. Ships from across the stars arrived daily, bringing diplomats, scientists, and traders eager to meet the children of the Solarians. Commander Hayes was appointed Earth's first official representative to the reformed Galactic Council. Dr. Grant led a new institute dedicated to recovering humanity's lost history. Captain Carter trained a new generation of Earth Defense Force officers with the help of allied species. Lieutenant Peterson became the chief liaison with the Guardian, learning to interpret its silent communications. And the Guardian remained, half awake and watchful, neither fully dormant nor fully active, a compromise between Earth's past and its future. Its presence changed everything, not through the power it represented, but through the knowledge it shared. Humanity learned that they were not merely a young species finding their way among the stars, but the heirs to a legacy that stretched back tens of thousands of years. They had forgotten their history, but now they had a chance to reclaim it and find their place in the galaxy once more. "We have come full circle," Elder Vorn told Hayes during the signing of the formal alliance between Earth and the Council. The galaxy feared humanity's weapon, only to discover it was never a weapon at all but a guardian of peace. In awakening it, you have awakened yourselves. Hayes looked out the window at the distant figure standing in the ocean. Its blue glow, a constant reminder of humanity's forgotten past and promising future. "Not just awakened," he replied. "Remembered."